yours.
All right, we're queued up, ready for our next speaker. Our next speaker is a gentleman that I have known for several years, and we get to see each other in trade notes and collaborate at different times at trade conferences. And he has been a veteran attendee here at Higher Info in the past. And he is a person who's involved in infrared trading and equipment sales and also reliability. We've asked him to join us at the front of the room this time at Higher Info and to talk to us today about NFPA 70B Beyond Compliance. Please give a warm welcome back to our good friend, Mr. Steve Oliver.
So before I go into this, I just want to tell a little bit of my story. When I was a young boy in Maine, I was at my grandfather's house. My grandfather and my father were putting up a CB antenna, and my grandfather went to get something to help out, and I was outside. I was like 4 or 5 years old, and the pole, the antenna crossed the lines, and there was a crackling, a burning. There was a noise I'll never forget, and my dad didn't survive. So before I understood electrical safety, I understood what electricity could take from you. So I understood loss at a very young age. And I don't tell you that for sympathy or, for attention or anything, other than to say, when I talk to you about safety, or if you meet me in an electrical room and I'm giving you a safety meeting, we're probably gonna swap some stories, but just know I'm invested. So those stories, and if you guys do safety meetings, you'll find meetings, you check your boxes, you do your thing, but people forget. If you start swapping stories stay with people. So I appreciate you listening to my story and my intro. I'm going to talk more about NFPA 70B, and I'm going to do the PowerPoint dance with y'all. But I just want you to know it's about more than compliance. It's about safety. It's about your people. It's about downtime. Let's be honest. If you're the people you're working with for and whatnot, if they're having downtime, then they're losing money. That's not good for anybody. And God forbid somebody has to make that phone call. So just keep that in mind as I'm talking about these things. So NFPA 70B matters because it finally defines the maintenance piece clearly. And some people, that's an arguable point, but at least it spells it out for you as you're moving forward. And your role as a thermographer is often to make the maintenance risk visible to your clients, so you can show them. Rather than tell them, rather than talk, stand here in front of the thing, you can show them physically within their plant what their issues are. So we'll talk about NFPA and beyond compliance. And if I'm off on my slides, just know telling that story shook me up a little bit. There are people that know me my whole life that don't know that story. So anyway, so NFPA 70B is not the law, but it does matter. When an accident happens and OSHA comes in, making sure that you followed all your due diligence and your rules is important. And NFPA is one of those things they're going to look at. So I hear all the time, and if you're doing sales or you're doing inspections, you hear people, oh, it's not a law. They're absolutely right, it's not. But the minute something happens, they're going to go through NFPA. So I'm talking about it not as a checkbox. This is about protecting people, protecting production, and protecting profits. It gives organizations a way to prevent electrical failures before they come in. So the real cost of compliance, as you can see here, total risk of exposure, we figured it at about 319 million. Casualties is 19. Downtime losses is 300 million. Now, we know in reality that casualty number is a bigger number than the 300 million. When people get hurt, killed, don't go home, can't do their jobs again, that's far more value than that 300 million. But those are the numbers that we came up with, is 19 million in casualties, 300 in downtime losses. And the question will always be, were you maintaining your systems? Were you maintaining your equipment in line with recognized standards? Did you follow OEM? Did you have an electrical maintenance program? Did you designate a coordinator? And were your qualified workers, were they trained, and were they trained properly? NFPA 70B defines what reasonable, defensible maintenance looks like. So, and again, I apologize, this is the first time I've presented and not done a class. It was really spelled out for me. The real cost of non-compliance is not regulatory, it is operational. In this example, the risk is, could be $300 million, like the slide I just showed you. Electrical failures rarely hurt companies through fines, they hurt them by stopping production. Safety and reliability are really the name of the conversation. Proper maintenance will reduce arc flashes, prevents fires, avoids unexpected shutdowns, and creates documentation when something goes wrong. The biggest financial risk is not injury, it's interrupted production. So NFPA, at Guiding Power, we've decided that NFPA, rather than call it regulation or anything, we call it industry standard. That this is now setting an industry standard for everybody to live up to, or a consensus standard. It lays out inspection frequency requirements, approved inspection methods, and what an electrical maintenance program should be. That is about as clear, systematic, documented practices, and not with tribal knowledge. We've all had people leave and they left with all the knowledge from your company, your safety standards. They left with it in their heads. Whether they, got sick and left or moved on to another job. So 70B is now required to claim NFPA 70E and OSHA alignment. The 2023 NFPA 70B marked a shift from recommendation to expectation. A lot of things went from it should be done annually till it shall be done annually. So that's something to keep in mind as you're moving forward. Non-compliance has serious consequences: abnormal operating conditions, increased arc flash risk, legal and financial exposure, and unexpected outages. How many of you here, and I have not, so I'll tell you right up front, I have not, I've seen the effects of it, but how many of you have seen an arc flash? Have you actually witnessed an arc flash? And how many of you saw the arc flash and it changed your life and how you go into an electrical room after that point? So, and have any of you been injured by an arc flash or know somebody that has been injured? Yeah, see, it's a pretty terrible thing, and if it can be avoided, it definitely should be, right? Arc flash risk from dirty equipment, loose terminations, corrosion, mechanical wear dramatically raise hazard levels. Improper electrical maintenance increases risk and raises costs. This is the bane to our existence right here. I know everybody has had experiences with this stuff. So somebody pulls out the screws, they lose a screw, they go grab a self tapper or a friggin' sheetrock nail or something and puts it in there. These are causing, those little screws there, those might as well be bullets. Those are downtime, those are fires, those are a call to somebody that's probably not gonna see their loved one again. So when you see those, and I'm not sure how the industry deals with them, but how many of you have gone in and half the bolts aren't even in the panel? They take it off occasionally, so when they take it off, they take out 8 bolts and put in 4. And you've seen that. Or how many of you have taken off a panel and the bolts that weren't in the panel fall off the top, down into the panel that you're getting ready to inspect? It's a pretty regular thing. So those things are the devil. And if they're not in there, you should find out where they are. Again, check the top of your panel. Ask questions. If you have you'll have a qualified person with you. If you have somebody from the facility, ask them about those missing screws before you do anything else. And no matter what else, do not put in a different bolt just because it's there. And don't allow anybody in your presence to do it as well. If you can speak out, stop them from doing it. Those things are just bad. We've had it within our own company. We've seen arc flash started from somebody trying just to be compliant, just go along to get along, put the screw back in, and there's an arc flash. So we're addressing this as a company policy as far as what happens when the screws are missing. Definitely if they're wrong, they do not go back in the panel, but if they're missing, do you as a thermographer replace them? And does anybody do you have a policy like that? Does anybody have an idea of what to do when they don't have those bolts? Do you have a policy in your company about that? Do you move forward, or do you report it in your reports?
Well, I'm an electrical contractor, so my guys carry the screws.
They
The
do.
majority of the screws, we
Yeah.
carry them because we always find missing screws.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's my favorite solution, so we'll have to see how that all goes. But to have the proper screws to put back, because just human nature, they'll take out 8, put in 4, put in 2, 3, whatever it takes to hold the damn thing on. And then they're done because they're gonna come back, and next time they come back, they don't have to take off 6 or 8, they're taking off 3 or 4, so. Yeah, this is a problem that we're seeing more and more, making sure people understand this. The two standards working together help to protect the entire business. 70E protects people, 70B protects equipment, and combined they protect your operation. So either your business, your client, your boss, whatever it is, the whole system works together to protect the company, the operation. Most importantly, people. Without, you just can't say that enough. I will say it over and over. Committing to NFPA 70B delivers immediate and long-term benefits. And you can read down through these. You got fewer outages, longer equipment life, lower insurance premiums, better safety culture, predictable operations. We're seeing more and more insurance companies are reaching out. So we do work for insurance companies for their clients, but they're paying the bill. And then we're having clients call us saying, our insurance company called, they said we need this done, and they said to use XYZ company. We're getting a lot of those calls. I assume all of you and your companies or whatnot are getting more of those calls where they're driven by the insurance industry. The people have done the math, the bean counters decided it's worth whatever the price of an annual inspection, it's worth being compliant in the end. And I tend to agree because the risk is too great to not to. Safety culture, again, as I talked before about my own experiences, your personal relationship with safety is important. You're responsible for you to begin with, but you're also responsible for other people when you do different things. But your first responsibility is to yourself. So, if you stay compliant, you don't do those things like the screws, it's you that you ultimately will save. And if you're in charge of people, you need to make sure they're not doing it too. Greater confidence in your electrical infrastructure and system reliability is a big thing, because you just know that you go in every day, do the job that you get paid to do, be safe, everything happens the way it's supposed to, which, in all your business, everything goes exactly how it's supposed to every day, right? Like, nobody ever has a problem, there's no Monday, okay. That's quiet. Insurance premiums, like I said, longer equipment life and fewer outages. So, reactive, proactive reliability, reactive, proactive, these are the things. So surprises, you don't get any surprises. You're always gonna get some surprises, but you minimize the risk of those. Risk and reliability. NFPA transforms electrical maintenance from a cost center into a strategic asset that protects people, production, and profits. Now, as though you all know, some of these things are written, they're sort of overstated, but combined for the safety aspect of it. 70B helps us tell people you should do this rather than, or you're required to do this. Instead of Steve walking in and telling you, hey, your business, you have to do this. You're immediately gonna get a little pissy, tell me to go kick rocks, or use some sort of foul language to tell me to beat it. 70B gives you a little backup on that, as well as 70E. And when you start talking about risk and casualties, companies are more likely to pay attention now, and driven by the insurance agent, you can bet your backside they'll be paying attention. NFPA 70B builds resilient maintenance cultures that protect profits, people, and production. From costly downtime and legal exposure from electrical hazards and arc flash incidents, from unexpected outages and equipment failures. Following NFPA 70B will help you with all three of these. Nope. Oh, I guess that was my last slide, I apologize. So NFPA is good for business. It protects people from electrical hazards, it protects production from downtime, and it protects profits from unexpected failures. This standard is not really about compliance, it is about building resilient, reliable operations that do not wait for failure to learn. How many of you are thermographers in the room? How many of you are actual certified thermographers? How many of you have been doing it like 10 years, you've been doing it? Wow, some experience in this room. That's great. Nice. And how many of you are level 3 or master? All right. Well, I'm a level 2, so I've been doing it for some time, and I've experienced a wide range of things. Again, never an arc flash. I've never seen an arc flash. I saw in a grocery store chain in Florida, I saw the results of one. The ashes of what used to be metal in a box that used to be a panel. It's pretty scary. So those of you that have actually seen and witnessed those, I feel for you. That would probably make me a little loopy. I don't think I'd ever be right. I might never go into another electrical room, frankly, because with my experiences with electricity, I'm in electrical rooms, but I have to take a minute before I plug something in. Electricity scares the bejesus out of me. So I'm very nervous around it. I'm the safest guy in an electrical room because of that. But I plug stuff in, so like, you can imagine, if you worked in data centers, and you can just feel that stuff. You can hear it, you can feel it. You can almost taste the electricity in those rooms. They make me a little nervous, but I'm the safest guy there because I ain't touching nothing. So,
Questions, anyone?
I was going for a smattering of applause or a polite golf clap or something today. I've been telling everybody I'll do with the Ducks. Yes, Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to your screw process. Some of the things that you want to be concerned with is if you're putting screws back in and they're not OEM, you take a level of liability with that. So you want to be careful when doing that. Also, you want to kind of understand why they're not there, right? Because sometimes there's a wire back there. You put in another screw that's the same as the rest of them, boom. There's situations where I pull apart panels, I've taken a look at the conductors, I can see thread marks from where the screws are going across. I can see shiny metal. And as a person who has seen arc flashes before and had chunks bouncing off my face shield, it makes me a little bit nervous to put that back together. So
Yeah.
when you're dealing with equipment that doesn't have screws, you want to make sure you're reporting it. You want to put the responsibility back on the client. And I've told clients before, I can't put this thing back together. You need to call somebody in here, de-energize, fix this problem, because I just won't do it.
Yeah, and that's where we're at as a company, is where can we step in, and bringing the screws is one answer. But again, it opens us up for, we put a thing in there. We put a thing in their body. We put a screw in the hole, and it wasn't ours to do. So you're absolutely right, and that's part of a bigger discussion of how do we handle that, and probably it's gonna be part of a reporting process. We take an image before we take the panel off, showing it's missing some, put it back the way it was found, and then report it that it's missing, and however that becomes, not to be too gruff about it, but it's their problem, not my problem. As soon as Mike suggested, as soon as you put your parts in there, suddenly it's your problem. So if anything rises from that, you're responsible. So it'll be part of an ongoing discussion about reporting and how to handle those things.
Good presentation, thanks. Just as a reminder for us seasoned thermographers, but all the new ones, you made a comment about stuff laying on top of the panel.
Yes.
Whatever you do, don't go and rub your hand across the top. because there may be a knockout missing, and whatever's.
Make it
on
worse,
may
right?
fall
Alright, yeah.
So just be careful.
Well, I think that's a big part of why these conversations are important, because we need the seasoned citizens in the back to pipe up and, you know, I'm quickly becoming one of the seasoned, so, but that's a great point.
I got a question for you, Stephen.
Yes, James?
Following up with the cruise, it seems like this is
Yeah, hey.
kind of odd that this is becoming.
Yes, so everybody's seeing it, so.
However, a long time ago, when we started doing electrical inspection work, you fall into the trap of just looking at everything thermally. And now that we've been doing this for a long time, we find more visual problems in our reports than we do thermal problems. And they shouldn't be overlooked, because as the screw, as benign as it possibly, appears, panels and general, just how they're attached to the enclosures can be very dangerous. And those all should be reported in inspection, because they do a couple things. In my opinion, is obviously they pose danger taking them off and putting them back on, but they also can affect the arc flash and how that behaves at a panel level. So, and another thing that we also are very stringent upon is looking at missing breaker points. Anytime you have a panel that has direct exposure to energized parts in the panel, should be documented. And so I just want to add to that.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that's overlooked because you're just in a hurry to get the thermal done, and it's not your problem. But really, you're there to prevent and identify safety issues and help your client to comply to them. And again, they should be very thankful for the added effort that you do in inspection.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say, Mr. Brady back here works with my brother Peter, who was a thermographer for 20 years. He was my younger brother. He passed away a couple of years ago. So if you see my red sneakers, my kids call him Uncle Peter. These are my Uncle Peter sneakers here. So they're my shoes. They make me run fast, in case nobody asks, because nobody asked me that. Yes, sir.
One more with regard to the screws.
Yeah, see? I hit a point right there.
Just because they're all in the cabinet and you took them out, doesn't mean they were all the same size.
Yes.
Involved in a serious arc flash accident, we're done with the inspection. The electrician is putting the cabinet back on. The last screw, we didn't notice that someone had cut the screw shorter. We didn't put it back in the right spot. The last screw was too long, hit a big old cable. And the two fascinating things about that experience that will stick with me. One was the quantity of arc flash that came out that little bitty screw hole. It engulfed this gentleman totally. The second fascinating thing about it was this was in New York City, and it's the first time I ever saw an electrician get dressed up in an arc flash suit, put his helmet on to put a panel back in. It was also the first time his manager said everybody out of the room while they put the panel back on. Wow, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can never underestimate the power of those things. If you're like me, I'm not even in the room when they're taking off panels. I go in only as close as I need to be, get my good images, and then I go back outside and put them on. We do a pretty big box store, and it's an Easter egg hunt sometimes with the guys, but I don't go in them. I just don't, except to do my job and get back out. That's my only goal in life, is to walk back out of every room. And you guys telling me stories and helping me in here, I'm telling you, I appreciate it. And I didn't know the screw was gonna touch such a nerve. I would've made my whole thing about, about it, thermographers and screws. That, lends itself. And I have to say, I have threatened Jim Sefrin with getting up here, swiping my whole script, wiping off my slideshow, and doing a 25-minute roast, but I was voted down. I believe I was physically threatened, so if I blink twice, I'm being held against my will. So,
Okay.
Steve, one more question.
yes, sir.
I've been shooting electrical panels for quite some time. I am actually amazed at how everyone is putting themselves at risk. I pay $1 million general liability, a $4 million umbrella. I have professional liability insurance. And as a thermographer, unless you are a licensed electrician, you are not covered to touch a panel in any way whatsoever. When you offer them advice and you give them a screw or you tell them how to put it in, you are exposing yourself to that liability. Please stop. When I walk into a room and I see them pulling the panel off, I am 10 feet away. And I'm 10 feet away behind the door, so that if the door flies off, the arc flash comes out the door most likely is gonna go back and hit the panel and miss me. I am amazed that we have put ourselves into the position of being liable for everything. If you tell them, put this screw in, you bring them a screw, something happens, you are liable. And if you have professional liability insurance, which I have, from Lords of London, you will lose it, all of it, and you will never get insured again. Please be careful. Your job is not to do municipal maintenance, telling them that, a punch out is going to be dangerous to your panel, because it's not. Your job is to take the thermal image and walk away. That's it. I am just amazed.
Thank you, Mike.
We try to teach, I always teach, I tell the new ones that are coming into the business, this is a non-contact sport, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and
You
I'll
don't
tell
touch
you,
anything.
I will tell you the conversation you had here. So Mr. Jason Will and Christopher Casey are here, both from my company. And this will be part of the conversation we have going forward as far as our policies. And I think Mike is probably gonna lead the conversation for us, because your opinion, I believe everything you said, and you're absolutely right. There are places we just need to stop. We can take an RGB image with your phone of what was there when you got there and what was there when you left. And if they fix it, that's totally up to them without us giving our opinion. So thank you, Mike, for that input. Thank you, everybody, for your input. And if while you were here during the conference, you haven't got a duck, I got some ducks to give. So if you need to put your ducks in a row, or, I'm a grandfather, they call me Grumpy. I can do puns all day long if you want. I won't, I'll save you from that, so I don't get shepherd's hook, tarred and feathered, or, any other thing. But thank you all very much, I appreciate it. He's kind of sneaky. He's like a stealthy guy. Oh, yeah.
Well, Steve, on behalf of everyone here at IRA Info 2026, thank you for a wonderful presentation, for sharing your knowledge and expertise, and also for your team at Guidance Power being part of IRA Info 2026. So, everyone, please give a round of applause to our good friend, Steve Oliver.